That's a phenomenal way of addressing the major challenge, because they always say, have your breakfast that can actually lead you the whole day. And the innovation that you're talking about, despite the governments are today offering midday meal, I think the early morning nutrition, I think, will keep the kid focused on the education part in the school.
Yes.
That's a wonderful initiative, Sadguru. So the confluence of education, health, and the nutrition. And I also noticed that you are just not sticking to only the underprivileged, but you are also converting this strong the confluence, and you are expanding it into other areas of the ecosystem. So today I'm on the stage representing BITS Pilani as a brand, and BITS Pilani Dubai campus in specific. I would urge you with folded hands and surrendered mind that I wish you please consider doing something for the BITS Pilani campus, especially the youth that are part of this. And as Dr. Shrikant mentioned, that the research part, we are really now gearing up our whole system. And as the Vice Chancellor Sri Ramgopal and our Director Shauri Banerjee mentioned, that we are now looking at the opportunities of expanding our expertise, especially into the research path, because that is going to speak about only tomorrow, the research.
Absolutely. I'm extremely glad, and I was very excited to see the kind of research work that is going on, especially in the healthcare domain. That is the topic today, but I'm sure you're doing much more in more areas as well. And we look forward to working with BITS Pilani and the like-minded people who think that they can make a difference through their knowledge and their skills. And this difference should be made not to the topmost or the creamy layer of the society, but to the last and the least. Survival of the weakest is what I say, which is what you said, the land that must roar now cannot be bleating all the way. That is the kind of empowerment that we can create. In healthcare specifically, because today that's the topic, I want to request for a collaboration where we can, in certain areas. One is of course the area of biotechnology, where we can help study the disease patterns, we can study their origins, we can study how it affects the overall system and prevent it from happening. And if that can be coupled with nutrition, intervention of the nutrition, I think a lot of health issues can be resolved if we can prevent them from happening. And one simple way is right kind of nutrition. So somebody talked about 3D printing nutritional products for the sake of by correctly calibrating it for the right need. So we do for tuberculosis, we do for other maternal health, various customized nutrition products. It's all done scientifically. So again, if there is some more research that can be done, I think we can solve that problem as well. The second thing I want to talk about is technology for medical devices, wearables, sensors, remote monitoring systems, because we are a very large organization which works at the grassroots level, especially in rural India. We can't visit them often, they can't visit us because every visit costs. So we are free, but they have to lose that day's labor to visit us and see us. We want to develop very robust remote monitoring as well as diagnostic systems. Telemedicine is happening, but then there are many ifs and buts, there are many challenges. Those can be sorted out. We want to establish 6,000 wellness centers across the country. These are one-room centers manned by a paramedic or a nurse who can gather enough data, do the diagnostics, basic diagnostics using AI, ML or whatever the systems are, and then feed it to the main server where the doctors can look at it. And the third and the most important thing I really want to look at from the healthcare point of view is also reducing the costs of devices, medical equipments and devices that we already use. At some point when we were kids, I remember to buy a color TV was a huge affair. And in those days, I remember we bought a BPL something, a color TV that cost us 22,000 rupees in 1995. You can imagine today, for 25 you get a huge one actually, not even a small one with flat screen and things like that. The electronics went through that process. Mobile technology went through the process. Even internet technology has gone through the process. Medical devices are only going up. And that worries me. And also the huge import costs in India for the devices which are manufactured elsewhere. And we import that at double the cost, and that is prohibitive for a charity. In fact, it is prohibitive for healthcare segment itself. can something be done with your technology that you have to reduce the cost of manufacturing or diagnostics or delivering healthcare through anything that you can think of, which can make it more handheld, more compact, more effective, but without compromising on the quality. And also, as I said, more ubiquitous. We can have many more of them, so it can go to every rural corner of India. These are a few of the areas that I have personal requests for. If you ask me, I can start from nanotechnology to everything that you can think of. But at least these 2-3 areas, low cost medical equipment, that is what the country needs. Diagnostics and remote monitoring devices for the rural pregnant women or even rural population, anybody who they might be, and some good work in biotechnology where we can find disease, the origins and reasons for diseases. And if nutrition can be coupled, I'm dead sure our ancestors are very smart, they ate right, and that's how they kept themselves healthy and lived long. And if these 3 things, and what I can offer to Bits Pilani, I'm a spiritualist, I'm always available to give you some good lectures on how to manage your minds and keep your balance intact, because this is a very competitive world. I fully understand that. You are in an institution that rubs shoulders with the best in the world, so always being ahead of the curve is a challenge, and that's a lot of burnout and a lot of stress. So some nice programs are there. I have a program called Master the Mind. It's a 30-day program, 1 hour per day. I know that's too much for today's times, but then it's your mind, you better mind it. You don't want to end up in the hospital that you are building for others. So that is where we are looking at some spiritualization. I'm not saying religious, I'm talking about spirituality. It's a subject that you must know because it is about yourself. It's about how your mind operates, how your emotions do damage or good to you. That is something that you must know about. So a little bit of spiritual inputs is a must, a bit of meditation and some bit of yoga or whatever helps you relax. That's all a must, and I think students, staff, faculty, irrespective of your age and your groups, you must engage in some of these activities which will help you to sustain your efforts for a longer time. And if you are there with all the knowledge that you have, you can do so much more good to the world. That's one request I have.
Thank you, Sadguru, and I can see that we, especially in the research area, can be guided under your blessing. Going forward, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's vision, it is an important feat that he has again come back to the power so that the continuity of the good work is continued. And he's constantly looking at self-reliant India and the empowered India, not just the youth alone. And that's what in fact he did write extensively to me in his personal letter, that youth empowerment, not just by academic empowerment but also economic empowerment, and that is the true empowerment so that that youth can actually lead the country. And your mission is also equally at parallel that you are talking about upliftment and the service through the service. And there is a great similarity in your paths. Both are looking at how to empower the communities and the societies. Through your spiritual leadership, how you are looking at, you just touched that point, through your spiritual leadership, how you are able to converge the different systems and levers into helping a human mind to be a better mind.
Yes, I think Mr. Modi has a great vision, and he is for the youth, and he wants our youth to be more enlightened, not just educated and empowered, but actually enlightened citizenry he talks about. I think that requires all fields of knowledge. You should be professionally good, there is no doubt about it. There should be excellence in whatever you do, and no mediocrity should be allowed, and it shouldn't be celebrated at all. That's the first part of it. But more importantly, you have to be a good human being. A good human being requires you to have a heart that bleeds for others, that is sensitive to the needs of others, that beats for the nation and the world at large. I think that is something that only spirituality can teach us, because if you really look deep into Indian spirituality, it has 4 stages, you see. We always talk about 4 goals of life: dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Dharma is the righteousness, that you do the right things in your life. Artha is you earn the money through all the righteous means, no cutting corners. Kama, you fulfill right kind of desires, which are ethical, which are dharmic, which are legal and not illegal and unethical. And finally, all these should lead to freedom, moksha. The freedom part, I think, is gone missing from our systems, because we talk about do the right thing, otherwise police will catch you. That's why you fulfill the right desires, otherwise somebody will laugh at you or spit at you. And earn the right kind of money, because otherwise you'll be behind the bars. The whole framework is all about rules, regulations, and forced ethics on us. But humans were ethical because they wanted moksha at the end. They wanted that freedom from everything else. They wanted to lead a happy and a free life, where you're not bound by this narrow-mindedness of I, me and mine. But that kind of education has gone missing. I think that is something we can bring back. And if a good Vishwaguru India, whatever we dream of, that won't happen by only technological or economic advancements. There are a lot of countries which are technologically far ahead of us or economically far more powerful than us. But have they become Vishwagurus? No. So what is that X factor? What is that secret sauce? It is Indian spirituality. Add that and you will suddenly see the change. That is the Vishwaguru that's possible through Indian spirituality. And I think every institute should make an effort. We made a small effort to introduce values in higher education. We had All India Vice Chancellors Conference, almost 50 universities attended. They all agreed that yes, there is a need to have a conversation, a dialogue at the higher education level about humanizing education, about the true goal of education, about how you can do good to others as an enlightened citizen of the world. That is something that needs to start, and I would invite Pilani also for the next conference, which is in the month of July during our convocation. There are a larger number of universities are coming together to discuss and debate on this idea. The National Education Policy talks about it, but nobody knows how to bell the cat, and that's where the problem is. So right now we are trying to work on a system where globally human values can be introduced into higher education very practically in a way that the students understand. What would we have? At the end of the curve, we will have human beings, more humans than professionals. Right now there are more professionals than humans. I think that balance is something that as a university we are trying to achieve.
Thank you, Sadhguru. So changing a bit of a gear, I will try to get into a bit of a rapid fire, which will bring the lighter side of the surface. And what keeps you going through the long days? Would it be tea, coffee, or some magical elixir?
More work. More work is the thing that not that I'm a workaholic, but yeah, when I see so much of human suffering, I know so much more is to be done, and I think that keeps us motivated. But some cups of tea here and there always welcome.
Sadhguru, what has been the most unforgettable reaction from someone whose life you have transformed?
It is very difficult to point to one, but I think I look at my own transformation. What this work has done to me more than what work I have done. The work that we have done has done so much more to us. And my own transformation is an example. I feel much free and much more clear in my head and much more empathetic and sensitive. I think my own story is my own inspiration. And I believe that this is happening to so many more people who are coming into the fold of this great vast mission.
Thank you, Sadhguru. Sadhguru, you have picked up a very, very important thing, that people do not celebrate their own success. And it is so unfortunate that people do not even consider, because in comparison, there is a bigger success that you are get to see in the advent of the technology, that people are forgetting their own worth, their own self-worth, their own potential. I think that's a very, very important message that you are giving. Thank you so much. I think that is very, very revealing as far as the power of changing or transforming the mind is concerned. And Sadhguru, one of my other books, Moment of Signal, which talks about how being alert to signals can change your life and make you a better leader. Is in that spirit, what is your moment of signal when you felt that you were ready to take on the massively huge responsibility of the service to humanity?
COVID was the time that transformed us. There was a pre-COVID world and there was a post-COVID world. For charities, COVID was a real testing time, you can imagine. For others also, it was a true crucible of your convictions were tested there, because you didn't know whether you could continue what you're doing. But that is the time when we really had to either call it quits or take on the bigger challenge, because COVID really tested our convictions. And I think that moment of truth or that divine signal that happened was own it up and run with the baby. You can't dump it, you can't throw it, just because challenges are mounting. And that made us much stronger. And I think we discovered our true potential during those testing times. And that happens to every individual, every family, every community, every country, every business. There is a time when your convictions are tested to the hilt. And those are the times when you have to really do some search within and say, what are you here for? And when you realign yourself and you focus again and are ready to face the challenges, I think that is when success happens. Before that, it's all mediocrity. Excellence happens after that. I think I'll close with a story about a lamb. It's from Upanishad, and Swami Vivekananda used to tell this to everyone. But there was this, it was about a lion cub which was lost in the herd of a flock of a sheep. And this lion cub thought it was a sheep because it lived always with the sheep, or lambs as you may put it, and learned how to bleat, how to eat grass, how to play and fool around like the lambs. Till one day a big lion came to the forest and roared. Looking at that lion, all the sheep ran for their lives. But this little cub was attracted by this majestic lion and the roar. Somehow something in him got triggered. And he was moving towards the big lion while the other friends, the lambs and the sheep, they said, let's run, this is going to eat us all up. He said, you all go. Somehow I cannot turn my gaze away from this beautiful, majestic animal. And then he started moving toward the big lion, and the lion looked at this cub and thought, what's going on? What are you doing in the flock of sheep? And he said, what do you mean? I am a sheep after all. He said, no, you are not a sheep, you are a lion. He said, no, I don't believe that. I've always lived with sheep and I am a sheep. He said, no, you are not. And then the big lion caught this little one by the ears and took to the nearby pond and showed its reflection in the water. And that's when this cub realized that it's not a sheep, it looks more like this lion than his playmate. And then he became a lion and roared, and that was the big roar that transformed him from a sheep to a lion. And that roar happens to every one of us. A guru or a teacher or a mentor or the right person comes to us at the right time to show us our true potential. I think believing in ourselves is the most important thing that the guru teaches us. Doesn't teach us to believe in him or her, but teaches us to believe in ourselves, and that belief is what makes miracles happen. So we have all gone through that phase of transformation, and when you said roaring lambs, I think that is what we all think we are lambs, but we are actually lions. And that transformation happens when we meet the right person at the right time. Once we believe in ourselves, we truly roar. And I hope that every one of us roars like the Vedanta lion, as Vivekananda was Vedanta Kesari. You are the lions of Vedanta because you have no fear, you know the truth. And truth makes you fearless lions. Let's work towards that greater good of all, which is the way we can transform ourselves.
Thank you, Sadhguru. I thought of asking you, what if you were given only 30 seconds with a room full of youngsters? I think you have already answered that. One should redefine and refine themselves that they are the lions indeed, not anymore the lions. Sadhguru, before we close, in one word, how do you define your mission?
Do good. That's all it is. Do good to as many people in as many ways, as many times as possible.
Thank you, Sadhguru. Here we have the great global humanitarian who has been constantly putting his entire life, not just by his own services, his own thought process, his own vision, but also he is able to alongside bring many powers along with him and making those powers contribute to the world, contribute especially to the world that is underprivileged. And his ambition of bringing that equality into the society is, I think, truly commendable, and we are honored truly to have you in our presence. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was truly an enlightening session. Thank you.